Morning, everyone. LightningESL.com. My job diaries. Security guard. Well, it's one of those jobs you might say to yourself, I don't want to be a security guard. What does it mean? Well, you actually have two instances of the word guard used twice. Security means to take care of things properly. And the second word in the title is guard. Again, take care of things. As a security guard, you can work in many, many locations. Hospitals, nursing homes, hotels, education facilities, banquet halls, concert halls, to guard things, watch over things. You might say to yourself, I don't want to do that. I might get in trouble. I might be hit with something. Usually a security guard, again, comes in different levels. First of all, it's recommended you know first aid. Just in case somebody gets hurt in the premises where you're guarding, you know what to do. And that's why you need a security guard of some kind. Open the doors, make sure the doors are locked. You don't want any breakage, you don't want any theft, things like that. As a security guard, a long time ago, I was working at, I guess it was, I remember, Christmas holidays. They needed somebody to work in a factory environment. So I took a job with a company called Pinkertons. Pinkertons, Pinkertons. Pinkertons has been a security guard company for many, many decades, almost 100 years. And at that time, I was looking for a Christmas job, and I didn't know exactly what to do. So I saw an ad in the newspaper and other type of facilities looking for a guard for a company called Pinkertons. Now, usually happens is you have to set uniform to wear. It could be a special shirts, pants, shoes, whatever. And they usually train you a little bit on what exactly you're involved with. So when I contacted the company, of course, I never heard of Pinkertons before. And I called them up and they told me, well, you're working as a guard in a factory, watching over night shift of a factory. So I figured, why not? So I applied, I got the job, and I had to wear a special bluish type of uniform with a black belt, as well as black shoes. I had a fancy hat. They gave me a flashlight. And my job was to walk around the factory every hour on the hour and punch a certain time clock to verify that I was there securing the area properly, walking around, and so on. So, this particular location was near the airport. I had no idea the factory itself, who owned it, what the name was, nothing. I just showed up in some address near Toronto Pearson Airport here in Toronto. And when I walked in, I said, hello, I'm Mr. Little. They said, okay, you're here to watch over this, and this at the front gates. Of employees come in, employees leave, to sign them in, sign them out. That kind of position. Sounds fairly simple, doesn't it? The only issue about, a little different, you might say, is when I walk around hour on the hour, what do I have to do? In those days, long before the internet, long before cell phones and so on, they kept time of you as well as around the factory, watching things in the factory by a certain metal, large, roundish clock, all right, which I carried on my belt. Outside of the actual piece of steel was this long metal piece, about 4 inches long. The idea was it was like a special type of key. I had to go around in parts of the factory, hold this piece of metal, which is like this big, and push it up towards a certain time clock around the premises, which would verify that I walked around and saw this and saw that and so on. That was the job. I didn't know what the actual company made as a production. So I said to myself, this might be interesting, exciting, whatever. And the only thing kind of scary, I guess you could say, was I was by myself. There was nobody else in the entire factory. In the daytime and afternoon shifts, they had about 300 people working there, including all office staff, including factory people. So at night, I was by myself. And of course, every sound, every movement of something, you might get scared. Are you by yourself? Or somebody trying to break in, etc. So in my particular case, I had to basically be by myself. Now, a lot of you out there might say to yourself, I don't be by myself in a huge factory. Who knows what could happen? And you might get a little paranoia, this could happen, that kind of thing. Doesn't mean things are going to happen, but you get kind of scared. You really, really do. Well, I had no fear about that. Noises are frequent. You hear special noises of fans and motors running, things like that. And now I'm working in a factory environment. So things can happen in the sense that there is noises. Expect certain noises. This particular factory I found out later, they manufacture and sell parts used in satellites. Yeah, satellites. And they build things for our space agency here in Canada. So I expected some noises from the factory, motors, fans, things like that. And the first night when I was walking around, I had a certain route. They gave me a map, go here, kind of thing. And use that metal piece to punch a clock to verify you're at this location and that location. So the first time I walked around, I had to go into a special room. It was called a clean room. Now for those in the industry in bacteria production of things, non-bacteria things that is, certain parts of the facility, and non-bacteria means just like it sounds. All bacteria of any kind and dust is sucked into special machines so that it remains very, very clean. That's why it's called a clean room. And in some facilities you wear special outfits, non-attracting of any kind of bacteria. In this particular case, I'm just walking around. And I walked into this massive, massive room, very, very clean, very, very bright lights. And lo and behold, in front of me was this massive, long, looked like a massive robotic arm. And it said Canada Arm on it. I'm saying, Canada Arm? Where have I heard this before? Where have I seen that written down somewhere before? Then I was thinking about the International Space Station up in space. And I'm thinking about the space shuttle. Everybody out there is thinking, space shuttle? What's Brian doing about the space shuttle? This particular company built the Canada Arm used in the space shuttles which go up in the International Space Center. Helped to lift things in space. Yeah, the actual space arm. It was huge. Huge. When I say huge, for those who are used to the non-metric scale like I was raised on, you're talking that something is at least 200 feet long. Yeah, a massive, massive robotic arm. So that was pretty cool. But of course, I'm not there to inspect or analyze or something like that. I got a job to do. So I did my job. I punched my little clock in the room. And I just marveled at it for like 10 minutes, just stared at it. Because it's such a large thing to see. And it's used in the International Space Center. And it's used inside the space shuttle to move things. So it's pretty cool. You gotta admit, pretty cool. And after recognizing understand what I was seeing, and a few days of seeing this, I got more and more used to it, the noise, the sounds inside the factory. Even though I was a security guard. So my job was basically 11 o'clock at night to roughly 7 o'clock in the morning. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, people came in for their regular shift. There was the odd time throughout my Christmas holiday job of this that I heard the odd sound. I got a little scared for a split second. But then I realized this is all normal type of sounds. And you get used to things like that. You really do. At first it's a little scary because you're by yourself. What is that? What is that? What is that? And you might get a little, scared. But after a while, I guess a third to fourth day, I said to myself, well, that's that, this is that. It's all normal. Yeah. Remember, as a security guard working for a company, not to say Pinkertons like I did, there's all kinds. There's Paragon, there's this, there's Brinks, and so on. All kinds of security guards companies. And sometimes people love that kind of a job because you do different contracts. In other words, you're doing this construction site, you're doing that education site, you're doing that banquet hall, and so on. And you're meeting all kinds of people from all over the world. And depending on your position and your responsibilities, you might be working with all kinds of situations. Hopefully safe environments. You're not going there to hurt yourself. But it's amazing. You never know what you're going to meet. You really don't. And people love that because it's always different. Some people have contracts in schools, like I mentioned, watching, make sure the students don't do anything bad, nothing, property doesn't get damaged and things like that. So it's all kinds of situations that way. It really is. And that's the beauty of being a security guard. You never know what you're going to come into. Every day, in a sense, is different. It's not a regular routine kind of a job. And you have to be able to adapt to it. That's right, adapt to it. Not always the usual thing. For example, if you're a security guard working in a complex, like a condominium complex, and you're signing in, signing out, contractors come in, managed people come in. And a lot of times you're on guard, which means you're walking around the facilities. You're making sure the doors are locked, there's no four-legged or eight-legged creatures walking in, that kind of thing. So, and they give you a flashlight and you do your rounds and get to walk around and so on. Some people might call it boring. Some people might call it different because it's different every night. It's always, you say to yourself, well, it's the usual route of walking here, walking there, but not always. So it can be a very solemn kind of a job by yourself, and sometimes not. Sometimes you're basically sitting in a huge area full of TV screens watching property. So again, it varies depending on your assignment, and that's the beauty of the job. It's different a lot of times. It's not always sedentary doing one thing only. So that's the life of a security guard. And I've met many, many security guards in the past, working in different situations, as well as making students of mine were doing security work. And a lot of times they liked it because they might call it a no-brainer. It's a very easy job physically sometimes, or even mentally. But the idea is they could use that particular position, work on schoolwork, work on assignments, all kinds of things like that. And that's why they liked it. So again, you never know. That's the life of a security guard. To some people, it's very routine. I wouldn't want to do it. To other people, I love working these particular people in that assignment. So you never know. So don't look down on a security guard. Don't look down on their type of position. Somebody has to do their work, and somebody say thank you all the time that they're there. Yeah, guarding your situation. This is lightingesl.com. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.